if he draws a bunch of those. He's also playing a Blood Mist, which is a card that signals that he is the one who's looking to be aggressive and keep attacking in the air or chip in for damage. So we'll keep an eye out for that too. Oh, I see why. He's also got 2 copies of Mercurial Geists. So, yeah. Kind of the 1-card combo with a lot of combat tricks in the format. That's the 1/3 flyer that gets +3/+0 when you cast an instant or sorcery. So let's see what happens here. We've got Conduit of Storms for Ivan Floch. Not doing a ton here, but it is a 2/3, so it's going to be able to dodge that explosive apparatus from Raph.
Go ahead.
Didn't see what he must have Boon of Emrakul. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Boon of Emrakul, indeed. And an Exultant Cultist now for Ivan Floch. When that dies, he draws a card. Nice little card, solid.
I like that card. Probably like it more than I'm supposed to.
No, I think actually you're probably right about there. It really does. It just, it goes in Emerge decks too.
Right.
It's
So good to Emerge.
It serves its role very well.
It blocks reasonably as well.
Very much so. You know what it really does well? It double blocks reasonably. And it looks like Farbog Revenant is going to be the play here for Raphael Levy. He doesn't want to use his explosive apparatus just to take down 2/2 that draws his opponent a card. So while missing a land drop, he's just going to play the Revenant.
Both these guys are world team champions, various points in their career. Definitely one of the things we're watching as this tournament plays out, to see who gets all those national captaincy seats. Levy's in the mix for France, but not in the lead.
Okay, that's a Gibbering Fiend there for Floch. Not an amazing play against a Farbog Revenant. And wow, Floch doesn't have anything else this turn. I spoke too soon. He's got a Naval-Gast Herald in his hand. So he's going to use that to tap down the Farbog Revenant, most likely. And there is land number 4 now for Raphael. So he'll breathe a sigh of relief after hitting that, and now he's got to plan things out. You can take a look at Naval-Gast Herald there on the side of your screen. Nice way to get pressure in. And keep some pressure off of you. And there's a Crow of Dark Tidings now for Floch.
Go ahead.
Interestingly, Raph just passing through the rest of his turn there, he could say go to combat and, have Ivan make a decision about what he wants to actually tap down. But by just saying go, it signals to Ivan that he has no attacks that he'd like to make, and Ivan can just choose which creature he'd like to tap. He's going to go for the Revenant. That's going to unlock attacks on the ground. At least for a turn. Oh, Savage Alliance, do 2 to that and 1 to everything. And that is going to kill both creatures.
Wow.
And yeah, you're going to mill 2 from the trigger, and then he's going to crunch in for 6. So, man, clear shot, Savage Alliance. Flip a coin on which one's the best uncommon, but Savage Alliance is unbelievable every time it gets cast.
Yeah, I mean, I have Clear Shot as the best uncommon, but that Savage Alliance is very well named. It is Savage.
It's like humans and werewolves hanging out. That card is so gross, Randy. Look at the board now. All that work that Raph had built up, it's just gone now. Now, Raph does have the explosive apparatus, which is, there you go, good enough to take down the Herald.
Good.
And he's just going to play it safe and do it now.
Nice.
Raph's down to 9. This is game 3. In round 2, they're both up a match from round 1. And looking to go 2-0 and put themselves in that finals of their pod. Ingenious Scob, the follow-up play for Floch. That's a card that you're going to see a lot of in the booster draft rounds this weekend. It's just a super solid common in blue. It goes into
Best blue
every
common?
deck. I think I like Drag Under, but
It's in the mix for best blue
I
common.
am partial to such effects, so it might just be better. He just drew another one, by the way. Which begs the question, how many does he have? And the answer is 2. Very solid deck here for Ivan. Looks like a Dusk Reaver there for Raph. Okay. Ivan doesn't need much. He just needs to get things out of the way for a turn cycle here or push through, but Dusk Feaster is going to do a good job of blocking here as long as Ivan doesn't have a way to do it. You can see Raph is sort of expectantly looking at the battlefield because he's like, look, if you have some way to get this thing out of the way, this game's roughly over. And if the Dusk Feaster gets to sit there and actually block, well, we might have ourselves a game here. All right, Ingenious Gob number 2 from Floch, and he passes. That's going to be a sigh of relief from Raph, though. Not for long. He is going to need to continue to put blockers out. Let's take a look at Levy's hand here and see what he's got going on. Emissary, an Unhallowed Foul Bloods. He does have an Abundant Maw, and a certain death that he doesn't have enough mana for as of yet. The Abundant Maw doesn't look too amazing here when you have to sacrifice such a powerful creature on board. So he's got some interesting choices here. He could play his Foul Emissary and hope to hit a 2-mana creature and be able to play 2 creatures this turn. But if he doesn't, then he forgoes the ability to cast Gavony Unhallowed, which is a better blocker. What he really wants to do is play Foul Emissary, hit a 2-drop, play that, keep the Foul Emissary alive, then next turn play Abundant Maw, sacrificing the Emissary, make a 3-2, and kind of reclaim this game for himself. But if he whiffs, he's probably going to end up having to chump block if Floch has basically anything. So really important part of this match unwinding here. And let's see what Raph does. Is he going to go for the Emissary? Yeah, it's a tough spot. You see him shake his head.
The other line is basically play Unhallowed. Gavony Unhallowed and call it good.
Yeah, so then it's... You can hear him counting 2, 4, 5, 6 damage, and he's going for it. Let's see if he can hit a 2-mana creature here.
Land.
There were 2 spells, but I couldn't quite see if he hit. Wow, Raph is just hanging on by an absolute thread here. It would not take much from Floch to be able to maybe kill Raph, at least put him to near death. Yeah, this is about as close as they get, and you can see, look at Raph, he just laughs. Ivan Floch, one of the nicest guys on the Pro Tour. Just an absolute sweetheart. He says, yeah, no, take your time, do your thing. You can hear a lot of math being done by Raph here as he sort of works his way through. Is that a Wicker Witch?
Go ahead.
I think so.
I think it was. I couldn't quite tell, but in any case, it's not a 2-mana spell. Ooh. Mercurial Geist off the top for Ivan Floch. Now, that doesn't help him at the moment, but he may be able to set up either a lethal attack next turn or a 1-2 punch where he attacks here and then the next turn. Let's see what he does.
Now, he's got Alchemist Greeting in his hand as well.
Okay. So he can use that to kill the Foul Emissary. He can also proactively use it on the Dusk Feaster and get his triggers.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if that actually works, and I'm guaranteed that's what he's thinking about right now, where he forces a trade with the Dusk Feaster, but also punches through a ton of damage and maybe even forces a chump with the Foul Emissary, which would be pretty good. If he can leave the board state clear, he knows that that could very easily strand a card like Abundant Maw in Raphael's hand. He's going to take a safer route here. It looks like the math didn't work out for him, so he's just going to rumble with everything. In
Gets
comes
his
the
trigger.
team. Yeah, he's got
So
2
those are
prowess triggers
3
here.
4s now.
That's right, and he can make one of them 4 power.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not dead. That's a good thing.
Levy does some quick math. Well, I'm not dead.
That is the good news for Raph.
Again, well, I don't have a choice, right?
Well, you do. You can plug either these one or these one.
Yeah.
That was clever.
Put one.
I actually thought Ivan was teasing him and saying you could block one of the ones that leaves you dead, but he was actually saying you can block either of these 2 ingenious cops, but you got to block one. So Raph falls down to 1 life here. And let's see, if he goes back up to 4 and plays the Abundant Maw and blocks, he's taking 4. He's dead on board. So he's going to need to just play multiple creatures here and try to stay at least on par with the creatures that Ivan has. It's going to be incredibly difficult for Raph to find his way out of this. He does have enough mana to play both Wicker Witch and Thraben Foulbloods from his hand, which gives him just enough blockers to not die. If he plays the Abundant Maw, he's dead. So it looks like it's going to be Wicker Witch, Foulbloods, go, and hang on for the ride. Almost any spell from Floch that has to do with creatures will get the job
Right.
done.
We know
and
Floch's
Raph
holding
is-
Mercurial Geists.
And he is, yeah. Oh, he's going to go for
Interesting.
the Certain Death, which also keeps him alive.
Sure. Gain 2 life.
Puts him up to 3, and it's a little bit safer of a play because Floch can't interact with this. He's tapped out. It's going to happen no matter what. Wow, this is just so close. Now, the downside to this line from Raph is that he's a lot less likely to be able to get Abundant Maw online next turn. But, you know, you do what you got to do. Oh, man, Raph this is so close.
Okay.
Looks like a take inventory there from Floch because he knows that he can still set up a lethal threat with the Mercurial Geist either way. A
Okay.
potentially lethal threat, I should say. It's not lethal on its own.
Plays his Lyre and chips the turn.
Is that a Dark Salvation? I'm scrambling to the deck list now. Oh, it sure is. Raph just ripped Dark Salvation off the top. That was massive for him. It is not quite big enough to kill the Mercurial Geist because the Dusk Feaster is not a zombie. But it's a flyer. It can still block the Geist anyway, and he can use it to take down a ground threat like probably the Gibbering Fiend just in case Ivan can find Delirium at any point, and then put 2 blockers on the ground as well, making it really difficult for Floch to get in on the ground. Now, I'm really curious to see what Raph does here.
2
He has
zombies and kill a
no
guys.
wiggle room.
2 zombies and kill a guy seems pretty good.
I agree with
His-
you.
I guess he can also just play 2 creatures.
He can. Yeah, he can still make the play that we talked about earlier where he goes Foulbloods, Wicker Witch. And that does set him up for the Abundant Maw next turn, which
Right.
is a priority when your opponent is playing red and can just burn you out from anywhere. A land off the top for Floch. His other card is a Vilden Pack Outcast, which is fantastic and could very well win him the game down the line, but it's slow. He needs to just cast it for 5 here and pass the turn, and Raph is still alive. He was at 1.
Crazy.
I think that was Borrowed Malevolence off the top there for Raph, which would mean if he leaves up black mana, that could also be a deciding card. It's about as close as they get. So now the question for Raph is, does he want to just play Abundant Maw? That would get him up to 6 life, which is clear of cards like Incendiary Flow and Fiery Temper. Or he can go for Dark Salvation, kill a creature, and leave up Borrowed Malevolence. Ivan with a subtle reminder about the clock here. As you know, you can't blame Raph. This has been the tightest of games. He has no wiggle room at any point. So he needs to, like, if he just plays one spell wrong, he's just dead. It looks like he's going to go for the Dark Salvation line here and just say, well, I hope he doesn't draw. Oh, he's actually going to combine it with Borrow Malevolence to kill the Vildenpack Outcasts here.
Okay.
So that was -3/-3 thanks to the Thraben Foulbloods plus the 2 zombies. And then he gets to tack on an additional -1/-1. And that makes a lot of sense. That creature could easily just kill him or at least force his whole team to block.
Ooh, an attack.
An attack has happened. Trades? Tradesies, anybody? And Ivan says, look, maybe, I'm actually just going to take a look right now.
Yeah, double block.
Draw.
Massive trade.
He does not have Incendiary Flow in his list. Raph won't know that, of course.
Floch got 2 draws since the cultist died.
He also,
One of them was an island.
yeah.
Okay.
Fogwalker, not really what Ivan Floch wanted to see here. And I think Raph might win this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's now ahead on board
And
and able to play his Abundant Maw.
That's right. Abundant Maw, get rid of Wicker Witch, and gain 3, go to 6. You go down to 15.
Go ahead.
And pass the turn back. He's still going to keep Dusk Feaster back because that Mercurial Geist is the scariest. Uncaged Fury, the Blood Mist, he could die pretty easily to it, so he's going to make sure to respect it. But Raphael Levy has clawed his way back into this game. Fantastic stuff. Remember, the Fogwalker has Skulk, so he actually can just attack through Raph's team here. And Raph is going to need to now try to close this game out quickly. He doesn't want to die to 2 hits from a Fogwalker and an Incendiary Flow. Now, again, Floch doesn't have that, but...
Send them all.
Are we going to see a grotesque mutation here?
Wow.
Oh, man!
Raphael Levy, ladies and
Raph
gentlemen.
Levy wins the tightest of matches, and you can see the relief on his face.
On the brink of dying many times.
So close to death. So many turns.
Yeah, he's had some time in the booth, and he said it, on the brink of death. So many turns, and he found it. No wiggle room. He had no room for
That was well
error
played.
there that whole time, and he
Super
actually
well played.
found the win. I mean, in situations like that, your mentality has to be, there's things I lose to, ignore those, and then focus on what you can actually control
Right.
and sequence those out. And that's exactly what Raph did, and he did a really good job of it. You know, it's not like Floch didn't need much, right? Like, there was a
No, he
lot
thought
of
he had
times
it.
when
He had the one
it.
all-in attack that put Levy to 1.
Mhm.
He's just like, I'm just going to attack again next
Yep.
turn. That should do it. I've got multiple creatures, but Levy just fended it off.
Great stuff down in the feature match area. We've got one more round of draft coming up for you, but for now, let's head to Richard Hagen at the news desk.
Thanks very much, Marshall and Randy. What a beast Raph Levy is. Hall of Famer. He's been in Pro Tour top 8s a decade ago and 2 decades ago. Can he make a 3rd decade's worth of Pro Tour top 8s? Well, Winning games like that will certainly help. Now, out on the floor, of course, great magic everywhere. Luis Scott Vargas, he's in contention for the Hall of Fame slot at the World Championship. He was up against Pierre Dajon, who leads the French World Magic Cup race by a single solitary point from the man you've just seen win there, Raphael Levy. Right now, out on the floor, BDM is with the winner of that match.